everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be doing the ultimate top 10 palette battle. In the video, I'm collaborating with two beautiful creators here on YouTube that are my friends. I love them. They are wonderful, wonderful women who are such talented creators, and Christina and Morgan wanted to collaborate on this video and I'm super excited. Christina Brooke has a series on her channel called Make Up Your Mind. Anytime there's a new palette out, based on the swatches of the new palette, she will go through her entire collection and she will find shades in her collection that match the new palettes that are being launched. She started that series, which is incredible. She is very talented, very beautiful, loves to do super colorful looks, which I always appreciate because I struggle getting any type of inspiration when it comes to colorful looks. The thing that I love most about Christina Brooke is that she's very good at what she does and she's got a very creative mind, and I love that about her. And the other creator in this collaboration is Morgan Turner. Now, I have a special place. I know I've said it 1,000 times and I will say it 1,001. I have a special place in my heart for Morgan Turner. She's a sweet, sweet, beautiful, talented woman and I love her. She's like a little sister to me. So anybody goes after her, they're going to have to come through Big Sis Tara because, you know, I love Morgan. She's a sweet, sweet girl and she is so talented. We all know she's very thorough in her reviews, very talented, and yeah, I just have I have a special place in my soul for Morgan Turner. What we're gonna do is, this is a challenge to basically go through all top 10, pulling them out without really looking and narrowing it down to the ultimate favorite palette. So basically, I'm going to grab here without looking. So we're going to narrow it down. We're going to go ahead and find my weak spot, how I'm going to be able to pick between two palettes from my top 10. It's going to be hard. So we're going to go ahead and get started. I'm super excited about it. Okay, this is going to be a harder challenge for me. And of course, the problem is there's one of them that's an ABH, and you know how ABH always has the little velvety, so it's kind of hard to not grab it. They're kind of all different sizes. I know what sizes they are, but I'm going to do my best to just grab with like whatever I touch, I will pick it up, versus picking and kind of feeling, because some of them are different packaging. And when you're picking between your top 10, you know how they feel. You know exactly how they feel. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to kind of like take my hand and just touch. Whatever palette I touch is what I pick up. This is going to be hard, you guys. Oh my gosh. So I'm going to put my hand here. Okay. Oh no, I didn't want to touch that one. I don't want to get rid of that quick. I have to though. I touched the Scott Barnes palette. I was hoping that this was kind of towards the bottom, so this would be the one that I picked towards the last. Damn it. Okay. All right, here we go. I gotta grab it. Oh, I picked the Desert Oasis palette. So I touched the Scott Barnes palette and I touched the Desert Oasis palette. Obviously, you guys know I love the Scott Barnes palette. It's one of my all-time favorite. This is like my top 3 right here. Top 3. This one is amazing. I don't know if they sell this anymore. If BH Cosmetics got rid of the Desert Oasis palette, then they didn't know what they were doing. It is so easy to come in here and create a look with it, and oh my gosh, it just has all those like normal everyday shades that you just love and need. I love this palette. Plus, the pigment in here is really good for being very affordable. I mean, I was so impressed with the pigment in this palette. Oh, it's definitely my top 10. Definitely my top 10. It's an oldie, but a goodie. But you guys know that I love the Scott Barnes palette, and the #1 reason why I love the Scott Barnes palette is that I don't get any fallout. This blends itself and I don't get any fallout. This one is very dependable, always just there when I need it. And anytime I don't want any fallout and I don't want any hassle, this is the palette that I pick. And I have to choose this one over the Desert Oasis. I have to. I just have to. That's the reason why I didn't want to pick this first. Okay, we're going to put that to the side and I'm going to grab another one. So Oh, I touched my table. Hold on. Okay. Oh. This is the Charlotte Tilbury Exaggerize, and I was hoping that this would be closer to the front as well. I'm not really having very much luck playing this game, am I? Oh, okay. So the Charlotte Tilbury Exaggerize palette is one of my favorite quads. Actually, it is my favorite quad. I take that back. This is my favorite quad. I love the pigmentation. I love this shade right here. It's got such a, just a beautiful, easy, Scott Barnes, Exaggerize. Scott Barnes, Exaggerize. Ah, damn it. Say goodbye to Exaggerize. Still top 10 though. Still top 10. Still top 10. Here we go again. Oh no! No. Okay. This is a ColourPop Brown Sugar palette. This was the collaboration with ColourPop and Korichi, and I love this palette. I don't think you can get this palette anymore. I bought one more. This is actually my new one. I bought one right before they were getting ready to just be done with them. It had pretty much hit pan on these two shades right here. So I picked me up another one. I love this palette, you guys. This is like such a beautiful, again, I know they're all neutral tones. I hear you. I hear you. You have some warms, you have some cool tones, you have the neutral. Again, every day. But this shade Saute is like nothing you've ever seen. I mean, seriously. See how beautiful that shade is? It's kind of like a purple gray tone, and it's just absolutely stunning on the eyelid. Scott Barnes and Brown Sugar. Scott Barnes and Brown Sugar. I'm gonna have to put this one down and keep the Scott Barnes. This is the reason why I didn't want to pick this first. I am not going to look. I'm not gonna look. I'm just gonna kind of close my eyes and just... No! This is the NARS Skin Deep palette. And I love this palette. I've used it so many times and you can't even tell because I haven't hit pan anywhere. I've used this palette so many times. So many times. Oh my gosh, I love this palette. This is definitely one of my top 3. I would say my top 3 favorites are the KKW Beauty Classic palette, which yes, it's in this pile, and the Scott Barnes and the Skin Deep. They're my 3 fave. I love them. So how do I pick between these two being my 3 faves? Scott Barnes, Skin Deep. I mean, they look the same. I know. You're probably like, it's the same palette. I know. But they're not, though. I'm going to have to go with the NARS. I'm sorry, Snatural palette. I am so sorry. But I got to go with my NARS Skin Deep. And I know they don't sell this anymore. This is a discontinued palette. I love this palette. Love this palette. And I got to pick it. So, there you go. This is the Anastasia Beverly Hills Soft Glam. We all know the Soft Glam is like the bomb.com, right? This is an amazing palette. Like, you have everything that you need in this palette. And I've used it a lot. I've created a lot of looks with this, and I've loved it since the day I bought it. And oh my gosh, I still have to go with the NARS Skin Deep. I have to. I have to. As much as I love this, I know they all look the same. I know. I have to go with the NARS. I have to. I have to. Oh my gosh. Okay, here we go. 1, 2, 3. Oh, I didn't. Oh. Okay, so this is the Natasha Denona New Mini Retro palette, and I freaking love this palette. Here's the thing that I love about this palette. I think you've probably heard me say it a few times, but this is a palette that I didn't know that I needed. And when I say that, when you go through my collection, I have a lot of palettes and a lot of them look the same. It's kind of been the narrative on this video, correct? And when I first saw this palette, I was like, oh, that's so unique. The color choices in this palette are so unique. And I never would have ever wanted to even dream about putting these colors together in a palette. But this palette works. I love the looks that I create with this palette. Loved the mini nude, but this one just kind of pushed that one to the side. This is my favorite Natasha Denona palette. I still have to stick with the NARS. I still have to stick with the NARS. I still have to stick with the Skin Deep palette because it's so good. Okay, next. We're coming down to the last, I don't know, I haven't looked at my table. I don't know how many I have left. So here we go. 1, 2, 3. Miss Pat McGrath. You guys are probably thinking, where is the Pat McGrath? Well, here she is. This is the Pat McGrath number 6 palette. Now, full disclosure, I go back and forth between 2 palettes from Pat McGrath that I love. The Mothership 5 and then the Mothership 6. This is the Mothership 6. And one day I'll love the 5 more, and then the next day I'll love the 6 more. I can't pick between them. So today I chose number 6, but probably tomorrow I'll choose number 5. It just depends on the mood. Those 2 are my favorite like Mothership palettes besides the Divine Rose. I do love the Divine Rose. This one, I think the reason why I chose this one is because I love this rose gold. Like, this rose gold is one of the prettiest rose golds I've ever seen in my life. And especially if you put this shade over top of this shade, it will blow your mind how beautiful it is. And even though I love the Mothership 5, I felt like the Mothership 6 today was just my palette. So, NARS Skin Deep and Mothership 6. It's gonna have to be the Mothership 6. As much as I love this NARS palette, nothing compares to a Mothership palette, right? Like, the textures in these palettes are like no other. They're made in Italy. Probably like the top best formula on the market. Now, yes, her mattes are very hard to blend if you're a beginner and it's your first time using a Pat McGrath palette. You got to be careful with the mattes because they're so pigmented that if you pick up too much, you're just going to be blending for hours. So the trick with her palettes is to go in very lightly and not get too crazy with the pigment. But yeah, I would have to say this is it. So I love you, NARS Skin Deep, but it's gotta be this. It's gotta be this. Oh, here we go. Here we go. And oh shit, did I break it? It's a fragile little sucker. Oh, I didn't. The Charlotte Darling palette. This is my favorite Charlotte Tilbury palette. Yes, I love the Exaggerize and the Quads, but I love this Charlotte Darling palette. You guys have heard me. A couple of weeks ago, I created a video of my top favorite Charlotte Tilbury palettes, and this one is my favorite for many reasons, but I love the color story. It's very simple. I love her pigment. 3 mattes, 3 shimmers, beautiful, and it's that perfect everyday type of palette. But again, it does not compare to the textures that are in this palette. And I have to pick the Pat McGrath over Charlotte Tilbury. You heard it here, folks. You heard it here. You know I love Charlotte Tilbury. You guys know she's one of my favorite brands. But the textures in this palette, ooh, they're gorgeous. They're gorgeous. So, I'm sorry, Charlotte, darling. I love you. Okay, I gotta put on a little bit of lipstick because the next one is gonna be a very hard decision because I already know what palette is left. I'm sure you guys already know what palette's left. If you know me, you know what palette is sitting on my table. In fact, I think I mentioned it in the video already. The final palette is the KKW Beauty Classic palette. I'm actually wearing some of this palette today. The Classic palette, the Scott Barnes palette, and the NARS Skin Deep. Those are my top 3 favorite palettes. The reason why I love this palette, this is my second palette, because I hit pan quickly on this shade, and this shade. Plus, my daughter kind of took it over, and so I just bought me a new one. So this is a newer one. Whenever KKW Beauty launches a new palette, even the Classic 2, which by the way, I bought the entire collection, all of those glosses. You heard it here, folks. Anyway, I have a problem. What do you want me to do? Okay, so here's the thing. I love this palette. And this is like one of those just dependable palettes. It's one of those palettes that no matter what I'm doing, no matter what I'm using, for example, today I was using this. This is the Huda Beauty Matte and Metals. I needed like a powder matte to blend out this shade. So what did I reach for? I reached for the KKW Beauty. I reached for it. Whenever I use my Eyes to Mesmerize from Charlotte Tilbury, anytime I'm using anything cream, liquid on the eye, it doesn't matter. I always reach for the classic palette because of the shades. The shades work with what I like. And anytime I'm using any kind of a liquid eyeshadow or a cream eyeshadow, whatever it is, I always reach for this palette to use to blend it or to just kind of soften things up. I use this palette way more than I do the Mothership 6, like way more. This is a type of palette that I reach for when I'm going somewhere. When I want something a little bit more special on the eye, you know, like this is when you reach for Pat McGrath, is when you're wanting your eyes to just be blown away, like just such a beautiful eyeshadow look. When I'm wanting something for an everyday, or I need a quick fix, or like I said, I'm using something creamy, something liquidy, whatever it is, this is the palette that I reach for. And I love the tones in here, and I love the formula. It's a very soft formula. Reminds me of the ABH formula, but it's not as powdery in the pan. You do get kick up, but not nearly as much as you do in the ABH palette. Here's the thing. I don't think that KKW Beauty gets near the hype of the formula that they deserve. I think this is a fabulous formula. I really do. And I'm not a KKW Beauty fan. I'm not a Kim Kardashian fan. I'm not a Kardashian fan of anything. I'm like, I don't get into all that, but I do love formula. I can't help myself. With all of that said, how do I pick between the Pat McGrath and the KKW Beauty? When I know that this is probably the best formula that I have in my collection, but this is the palette that I reach for the most. You guys are probably going to be like, she has gone and lost her mind. I might have, you guys. I might have. I have to pick the KKW Beauty. The reason is because it's my most dependable. It's the palette that I reach for the most when I'm not filming. It's the palette that I take on vacation with me. I don't take Pat McGrath. I don't take a big Mothership palette on vacation with me. Number one, I don't want it to get broken. It's like $125. But number two, this is the formula. This is the shade. This is just it. Done. I've made up my mind. It is what it is. It's the classic palette. You guys know it's my favorite. It just is what it is. So there you have it. Those are my top 10 favorite palettes, and I was able to narrow it down to one. So that's it. That's it for the video. Thank you all so much for hanging out with me in today's video. Don't forget to head over to Christina Brooke and Morgan Turnell's channel. They are such amazing creators, and they deserve so much love. So definitely head over to their channel. I will leave a link to their videos in the description box down below, along with a link to their channel so you can check out all of their content. They are fabulous. I have a lot of good reviews coming up this week. You guys already know the bronze palette, the bronze face palette from Natasha Denona, the Charlotte Tilbury 3 lipsticks that she just launched. So lots of good stuff coming up, and also the classic number 2 and the entire glosses. I know. So I love you all so much. I will see you guys all in my next video. Love you. Bye.